Welcome. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Sean Evans. I'm with the Meridian Chamber of Commerce. And the Meridian Chamber of Commerce, in partnership with the City of Meridian, Central District Health, Crush the Curve Idaho, and numerous partner organizations and individuals, are proud to share with you a program that will assist Meridian businesses as they reopen. Our campaign is designed to educate businesses on the basic guidelines to reopen based on the Central District Health and CDC guidelines. It will allow businesses to demonstrate to the public that they're doing so in a manner that will keep Meridian healthy and open for business. Online and speaking with us today are just a few of the partners and organizations that have developed this program to support the Meridian business community, as well as local businesses leading the best practices when it comes to safely reopening. Joining us today is Scott Paradise, Program Manager with Central District Health. Also joining us will be Amy Stahl with Salts for Health, Crush the Curve, Idaho. And our business sharing some best practices today will be Ted Challenger, owner of Amsterdam and Strange Love. We will open it up for questions at the end of the presentations, but you can enter your questions anytime during the presentations in the question window, and we'll get to those. The premise behind our campaign was getting businesses back open and restarting our economy, and that's why our group was started. We initially pursued efforts to get everyone open as soon as possible, but we also saw the bigger issue businesses might face when opening amidst the COVID-19 crisis, and that was, will the public return to the stores and establishments when they reopen? We're contacted daily by our business members on how the governor's plan applies to their business. When can I actually open? And what guidelines does my business need to follow? While the Meridian Chamber of Commerce is not an authority on the plan or the recommended guidelines, we are here to help businesses understand them better. The last thing we wanted to happen was for our local businesses is that they go to the effort and expense to open, bring back employees, restock their shelves, and the public, the consumers, not visit their establishments out of fear or concern for their safety. The Central District Health and CDC have developed some guidelines to reduce your risk when out in public. And if businesses can follow these guidelines as they reopen and demonstrate to the public that they're serious about the public's safety and health, then that will build the consumer confidence necessary to restart our economy. The Meridian Chamber of Commerce has launched Keep Meridian Healthy and Open for Business to help the businesses build that consumer confidence. As businesses opening, according to the governor's 4-stage Idaho Rebounds program, we will assist businesses by conducting these industry-specific webinars that will provide information from Central District Health and the CDC on basic guidelines for that industry. The webinars also feature local business leaders that have taken even further steps to ensure that they are reopening in a safe and responsible way. After businesses participate in the webinar for their industry, they'll be provided free of charge collateral materials that they can display in their store that recognizes them as participating in the Keep Meridian Healthy and Open for Business campaign. These include door stickers that they can show their customers before they even enter, that they're keeping their health and safety top of mind. Also, we're providing in-store posters for businesses that they can put up showing the different steps that they're taking in order to keep their customers safe and healthy. This also includes social media material that you can use to help promote your business as following the guidelines and participating in the campaign. And then we'll also include you on our website and marketing campaign as a business that's participating and taking the health and safety of the public at heart. Our program goes beyond what some other communities are doing by just creating a list of businesses that are complying and help them understand what it means for their business and sharing best business practices from other industry-specific leaders. This is our schedule for this week's industry-specific webinars. You can also visit the website, keepmeridianhealthy.org, to see all the previous webinars that we have done in the previous weeks with all the other industries. These guidelines out there are not a one-size-fits-all solution for every business. These industry-specific webinars seek to educate beyond just the written guidelines. To be in compliance with the governor's 4-stage plan, businesses will only be provided the collateral materials when their business is scheduled to open according to that plan. As a follow-up after opening, the participating businesses will be encouraged to answer surveys from the Meridian Chamber on how their opening is going and the sentiments their patrons have returning to the stores and businesses. This will assist us in phase 2 of our program as we build out business revitalization teams to support Meridian businesses. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Scott Paradis with Central District Health to share with you the guidelines for bars and nightclubs as they're able to open in the coming weeks. Scott?
All right. Thank you for having me today. I really appreciate getting the chance to come and talk to everyone about all of this. So we at the Central District Health Department have come up with a few guidelines for bars and nightclubs on reopening safely. We will be putting it up on our website soon, which is cdh.idaho.gov. And the state Department of Health and Welfare will also be issuing some guidance as well coming up pretty soon. So keep an eye on their website and ours in the coming days and weeks for the best, most useful information. So we have just about 6 different points we want to cover for reopening bars and nightclubs safely that I'll run through pretty quickly. First off is to set a good opening policy about what you'll be doing and make sure it's visible for everyone. So your policy should cover ill individuals entering or not. So talk to people who are coming in, whether they've been in contact with anyone in the last 2 weeks who has had COVID-19, whether they have had any sort of symptoms. So before anyone comes in through the door, ask them about that, check their symptoms, consider taking temperatures of people. And so when you've set this policy up, make sure it's posted clearly and visibly in multiple places, like post it on the doors, so before people even get inside, they can see what you're trying to do to prevent people from coming in who are possibly ill. Post it on your website, on social media for anyone who's out there looking around to see what you're doing, so they can know before they even try to come to your establishment what sort of precautions you are taking. Next, we want everyone to make sure that everything is thoroughly cleaned and sanitized prior to reopening. So just top to bottom, wall to wall, clean and sanitize everything in the establishment before reopening. So, and pay special attention to high touch areas within the building, such as doorknobs, countertops, handles on sinks for turning on water. Pretty much anywhere that people touch frequently needs to get special attention paid to it during your deep, thorough cleaning. So we recommend using a chlorine-based sanitizer, which is basically bleach water. The CDC has developed some good guidelines for different types of establishments for different types of sanitizers. So if you're looking for what type of sanitizer would be best for your particular situation, we recommend looking at the CDC's website. They have a lot of good information there. So thorough cleaning and sanitation and frequent sanitation of high-touch areas after people have gone through is our second recommendation. Third would be ensure that there is plenty of personal protective equipment for employees, such as masks and gloves. So everyone should be wearing masks and gloves at all times. Stop to prevent touching of the face and mouth and nose. Provide plenty of areas for hands to be washed for both employees and customers. So one of the best ways to prevent the spread of this virus is through frequent and thorough washing of hands with hot or warm water and soap for up to 20 seconds. So have multiple places that employees and customers are able to go to wash their hands frequently and thoroughly. They need to be well stocked all the time with lots of soap and paper towels to dry off the hands. We also encourage to have lots of alcohol-based hand sanitizer available. I know it's kind of in short supply out there right now, but if you are able to get it, it's an additional good thing to have. If you have the ability to get a hold of that, have a few alcohol-based sanitizers scattered throughout the establishment so people can clean their hands easily and regularly. All right, next we're looking for providing a safe environment inside of the establishment for patrons. So like I mentioned earlier in the third recommendation, we need to have lots of hand washing areas available, especially for patrons. Have signs scattered throughout the building encouraging patrons to wash hands thoroughly and frequently. Again, have alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Then encourage social distancing within the establishment. So remove tables or designate several tables as off limits to keep at least 6 feet of distance between different parties. Tape sections out on the floor to illustrate how far apart 6 feet is so people aren't getting too close to each other. And do not allow standing and seating at the actual bar tops, so people aren't standing there waiting for their drink. Have people have their drinks brought to their individual tables so you don't have a line forming or anything like that. Next, we have the guidelines for actual service or preparation of drinks. When the bartender or server is making the drink, mixing the drink, don't hold the glass by an ungloved hand. So if you can just either leave it on the counter, use a glove, or some other sort of non-touch method for mixing the drink, that's best. We were concerned about people with ungloved hands making a drink, then that gets passed to a patron who has an ungloved hand, then brings that up to their mouth. So that's a good way to easily transmit the virus from possibly a bartender to a patron right into the patron's mouth. So find touchless ways to create the drinks or pour the drinks. If you are touching a glass, you touch it on the lower area instead of closer up towards the top near the lip of the glass. Make sure that your dish machine or dishwashing processes are working well, that you have good sanitizer levels in the dish machine or the dish sinks that you're using to kill off anything that may be on the glass after the patron touches it. And again, wash everything that may have been touched by the patrons frequently and thoroughly after every use. And then our last recommendation is regarding payment. We suggest that as much as possible, customers use touchless type of payment, like if you have a credit card that allows you to just do a tap, or if customers have a chip or swipe credit card, have them insert it into the machine themselves, not handing the card to your employees. If you use credit card and receipt holders and pens to have receipts signed, make sure those are sanitized and cleaned after every single use, so every time they come into contact with a new person. So that's basically it. So really what we're looking for is a lot of good social distancing, a lot of cleaning, and making sure that people have access to a lot of hand washing availability. So that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for having me.
Scott, thank you very much. If you'd stay on for some questions, I know we're going to have a few that you can answer. I'm going to now move on to one of our guest speakers from an industry. The Treasure Valley is home to some of the most creative and successful businesses in Idaho. These webinars help bring everyone together to share what they're doing in their respective industries to reopen in a safe and healthy manner. These businesses are implementing some best practices and are sharing with you ways to keep Meridian healthy and open for business. Please welcome Ted Challenger, owner of Amsterdam and Strange Love, to share with us what he's doing in his establishment. Ted, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I know I don't operate Meridian, and I know there's a lot of great operators out in your city. Very interesting. What the plan is that was just laid out for you is big part of it, and we're also wanting to tell you that customer education is actually a really big part for us also, that we are really trying to educate the crowd that came in. We opened Amsterdam this weekend as a restaurant because we already serve food. We didn't have a restaurant designation, but we still opened and ran it as a restaurant, closed at 11 o'clock. I can tell Meridian people that I had a record night. I had never seen so much excitement to come in. And there was a couple of challenges that we didn't foresee. One is that having to force people to social distance was difficult. They're naturally social, they're drinking, and they wanted to go to this table and talk to people and that table. So we're going to have to add security. But we also, a lot of times you just have to remind people because they just forget. The second thing that we saw was that no one wore a mask. No customers wore not a single mask walked through the door, which was kind of shocking to us. My employees were wearing masks at the time. We did do an extra step. We put hand sanitizer at every table, little 2-ounce bottles, and then we had 12-ounce stations all over the place, and tried to get people to use it as they walked in the door as time permitted. The customers and the clientele were extremely grateful for that. They really enjoyed hand sanitizer as they moved out, and they're welcome to take the bottles if they wanted to. We had no qualms with that. We even put our logos on them so that it does a little advertising and pays for it. We definitely cleaned all the surfaces. As we said, we had custom masks made for our employees. But the education of your staff too, those are 2 areas that we're really pounding home. Is if you even cough, if you don't feel good, fever, any of the signs, stay home. Stay home as long as you need to, or go get tested. And then the same as the people walking in. If you've been around a sick person, please, we don't want you as a guest at this time. If you don't feel well, please maybe just go home, don't come in. And I know that's totally opposite of how our industry works, where we're supposed to open our doors with welcome arms. But we're going to have to really pay attention to who's walking in the door. We have the thermometers coming, and if that works, great. As far as my other 2 clubs, Roddy's and Strangelove, with the steps that the Central District Health set up, I don't see us being able to open for a long time. My club model is built for large amounts of people, 300 to 800 people at any given time, sweating, dancing, moving, breathing heavy on the dance floor. And as what we follow on the news, I don't see how that works. And there's some smaller clubs that obviously will be able to make that work. It just doesn't fit our financial business model. The dishwashers we had tuned up and checked to make sure that the hot water was going and that all the chemicals are in place. And then obviously the hand washing stations, as you mentioned. Pens, I actually didn't think about that. The pens, yes, that's a good idea. We'll sanitize the pens for sure. And then yes, lately the technology that's available to us, customers can slide their own credit cards with our handhelds, and that's been a big help, so that we're not seeing a lot of cash. But the education that you're going to have to train your employees who are hungry for tips, who've been out of work. They want to take any business that they can, and people are rushing the bar top. Even though we weren't seating people there, they were eating typically. They still are just in a habit situation where they want to go to the bar tops and they stand. And about 4 times in the night, we had to tell people to please stay away from the bar top. We used music also. There's certain levels of music and energy that want to make people get up and get a little stir crazy. So we kept that at a minimum also, and played more of a calm house music rather than one that geared people towards dancing. And I see that's probably going to have to be it for a while. And in fact, we had a DJ playing it, and he still got a little elevated because he's trained to bring up a crowd. We're just going to go with a basic playlist until the virus is done. So that's what we're doing, and it is a challenge. It is a challenge, but I will tell Meridian businesses that the customers, all of them, thanked us. We had no negative comments. We had a record Saturday, believe it or not, and they were so many grateful people. And when you told them hey, we need to split this up. Some of you need to go this direction. Some of you need to go that direction. Need you to get back to your tables. They were more than happy to. They're just so happy to be back out and socialize and see people. I imagine this weekend will be even busier, but luckily we have the space that meets the requirements. That's all for me.
Ted, thank you so much. If you stay on for questions that may come from our attendees. One of the things I did want to mention again for this specific industry is last week, the city of Meridian did pass a measure to assist local businesses in reopening. This will be a waiver of 3 permit fees to help businesses reopen and prosper. In Meridian, businesses that apply for fee waivers for alcohol catering permits, temporary use permits, and promotional sales and limited duration sign permits will not have to pay that fee. They still have to request those permits, but there is no fee for those permits through December 31st. So that's really to help them be able to open and work under the social distancing conditions. So thank you to the City of Meridian. There's information here where you can go apply for those and more information. With that, I'd like to turn it back over to Amy from Salter Health and Crush the Curve, Idaho, to share with us a little bit about testing availability here in the Treasure Valley. And while it's not required for employees to go back to work, we all know that it is one of the things, testing and tracing is probably the best measures. Amy, would you mind sharing? Thank you.
You bet, Sean. My name's Amy Stahl. I am speaking to you on behalf of Crush the Curve as an employee of Salter Health. Salter Health is a medical partner with Crush the Curve for testing in the Treasure Valley. Crush the Curve, if you're not familiar with it, is a group of business people who mobilized to provide testing resources for the community. We do operate a temporary testing location at 10 Mile and also work in conjunction with Salter Health for 2 drive-up testing sites at urgent care clinics in Nampa. I'll give you a little bit of an overview of the 2 types of testing available, the cost, and how to access those tests for your employees. The first, the PCR test, is the nasal swab that we're all familiar with. It is a test that is done curbside at the 2 Nampa urgent care clinics, as well as the temporary location at 10 Mile, available to both people who are symptomatic, who show the signs of COVID-19, or those who don't. The results are shared in a safe online portal, patient portal, and we provide information about how to access that information. The antibody test, which is referred to as the IgG antibody, is also available at the 10 Mile location. Both for, you can arrange to have your groups of employees tested. We do accept walk-up testing on Wednesdays at the location. That is a partnership with the University of Washington Virology Department, and we're proud of that partnership. The results of that are also shared on the online patient portal. The cost is not immaterial. The cost, we do work with you to bill insurance, but for unreimbursed costs, just for your awareness, the PCR test is about $95. The IgG antibody test is about $100. And it might be something that if you would like to pursue with groups of employees, knowing that we will bill insurance, there could be an additional out-of-pocket cost. If you'd like to arrange for your employees to be tested, we suggest that you go to crushthecurveidaho.com for an online assessment, and we will work closely with you to arrange for a convenient time for your employees. Thank you.
Amy, thank you very much for your time today. With that, I'd like to open it up for questions of any of our panelists. Remember, you can enter your questions in the chat or the question box. With that, Scott, this one may be for you. Bars are now available to open in stage 3 opening per the governor's order last week, which stage 3 is May 30th. How does this apply to venues that are technically both bars and nightclubs?
I think overall it should be pretty similar, so long as everyone is following all the rules that have been set forward about social distancing and trying their best to be safe and sanitary. So keep crowd control going, have only a minimum number of people enter, and try to not cram too many people in is the best recommendation we've got so far.
Okay. Ted, you're in the industry. How do you interpret the bars and nightclubs differentiation, with bars being able to open as of May 30th, but nightclubs remain closed until stage 4? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I would love to open my nightclubs at stage 3, but I don't see how it works. I have not yet figured out how to social distance a dance floor other than putting people in hula hoops. But it's going to be a huge challenge. And, I've always said that, bars get clumped in one category, that there's really is about 3 categories as far as bars, lounges, and then nightclubs. So nightclubs are going to be the last to open and have a huge challenge. I think nightclubs fall in with concert venues and large venues like movie theaters that hold, a lot of people for a long period of time. So I'm not optimistic that we're going to see it, and I think a lot of us operators are scared that if there's an outbreak and it's in your club, then you have an outbreak of 300 people, like a processing plant or something, then are you done with the community in which you work? Because would it force another long-term shutdown? So I think it's better to wait for large area nightclubs until we're in the clear completely.
Okay, thank you. Is there a standard recommendation from Central District Health or the government on limiting capacity in venues, like 50% or 25% of your code capacity? Is there any guidelines on that?
Overall, we are saying about 50% maximum is what should be done. We've had a lot of people say that they're only going to 25, but 50 is the Central District Health's recommendation.
Okay. Ted, you opened this last weekend as a restaurant. What did you see? Did you get an idea of what your capacity was by rearranging your tables and things like that? How much did it come up to your code capacity?
Oh, absolutely. I can hold around 500, and I think I had 150 people. But they stayed longer and they stayed put and they ate a lot more food and drank. And there was a lot of excitement. So it works. It works when you have a restaurant in some aspects, but like I said, financially for nightclubs, your formula, the rent starts kicking in. You have to still, pay like a big club, even if you open for 100 people rather than the 800 you're used to having. So it's probably best just to not even open my doors in my particular model. In each place is different, each operator is different, and they can figure things out. And what is there to do in a dance club if there's no dancing?
Okay. Next question, Scott, this is probably for you. Do bars, nightclubs, lounges need to do the application like food establishments?
No, they do not.
Okay, excellent. If they're opening as a restaurant, they still have to follow those guidelines?
Yes, they should follow those guidelines. But
okay. I think we've covered all the questions here. Ted, you touched on the question about dance floors, and to your point, it is very hard to try and understand how you social distance when the dance floor is meant to actually bring people together.
Yes. What are some challenges for all of us?
Okay. Well, I want to thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We really do appreciate you taking the time to share with us, what you're doing in your business, your industry. Thank you from Central District Health for sharing those guidelines. As soon as those specific guidelines for bars and nightclubs are posted online, we'll provide the link to that. But we're here to help our businesses open in a safe, responsible way, and we want to keep Meridian healthy and open for business. Be sure to answer the follow-up survey, and y'all have a wonderful week. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.